Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Trey Gowdy, and it's Sunday night in America. Israel is moving into Rafah despite threats from the Biden administration, as attempts by Hamas to negotiate are seen as a ploy to delay the Israeli offensive. Hamas still holds hostages, so if that group are really serious about a ceasefire, releasing hostages might be a good first step. Meanwhile, college campuses remain chaotic crime scenes. That doesn't bother the squad. Per usual, they side with the criminals and not the cops.
From GWU to WashU and everywhere else, students have been violently beaten without provocation. They have been arrested and charged with disproportionate offenses. They have been wrongfully smeared as anti-Semitic.
This is an explicit attempt to repress students exercising their First Amendment rights to protest their university's complicit actions in on behalf of Israel's government's genocide of Palestinians.
The squad remains a little out of step with President Biden, but honestly, he can be hard to pin down on exactly what his position is.
Violent attacks, destroying property, is not peaceful protest. It's against the law. And we are not a lawless country. We're a civil society. We uphold the rule of law. And no one should have to hide or be brave just to be themselves.
He condemns violence, but he also condemns Israel, the lone democracy in the region actually seeking to deter more violence. Biden needs young voters to win, but he also knows images of lawlessness don't really appeal to undecided voters or really anyone other than anarchists. Moreover, Biden is threatening to withhold arms and munitions from Israel, but is willing to negotiate with Iran. The world has truly turned upside down. Joining us are Brooke Goldstein, the director of the Lawfare project, and Morgan Ortagus, who worked for the State Department in the Trump administration. Welcome to you both. Brooke, is Joe Biden really withholding arms and munitions from one of our most treasured and reliable allies in Israel?
It looks like that's exactly what he's doing, and it's just absurd because if you take a look at his foreign policy, it is Biden that is endangering this world. It is Biden, as you said earlier, that encouraged Iran by welcoming them back into the nuclear deal. It is Biden that released over $10 billion to Iran, the #1 sponsor of Hamas, only 1 month after Iran facilitated the October 7th attack. It is Biden who continues to supply Hamas with so-called humanitarian aid, which is really food and fuel for the terrorist organization. It is Biden who gives Qatar a privileged status in this country and has allowed Qatar to fund to the tune of billions of dollars the greatest influence campaign, subversive influence campaign this country has ever seen. And I'm very happy to see that the House Oversight Committee has launched an investigation into President Biden and why he is playing such dangerous political games with our only ally in the Middle East, who is on the front lines of the war against radical Islamist terrorism.
Morgan, I hate to be cynical, but I think I know why Biden is playing these games. He needs young voters to get enthused about November, but he also needs undecided voters and moderates who are actually really turned off by the violence and the support for terrorist organizations and the anti-Semitism on college campuses. So he's kind of torn a little bit, I guess, politically.
You know, Trey, this is what happens when your campaign team runs your foreign policy in the White House. That's not something that we chose to do in the Trump administration. In fact, when your and my friend Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made the decision to take out Qasem Soleimani, we knew that we were likely going to get grief from all sectors of the world, certainly from critics here at home. But we did it because we knew it would be the right decision. We also knew that there could be plenty of problems with that operation, yet we moved forward. You know, if we boil this all down and we look at at it, what President Biden is saying and his team is saying is they want to destroy Hamas. They want Israel to destroy Hamas. They want the hostages back. But basically, they're going to tie both of Israel's hands, not just one. They're going to tie both of their hands behind their back as they try to get those 4 remaining battalions in Rafah out. Now, listen, I have been in government, in and out of government since 2007. I have a master's thesis from Johns Hopkins on counterinsurgency. I have yet to see the Biden team offer up what this new plan for counterterrorism, urban warfare is that the Israelis are supposed to impose. You know, they say that there's a better way to kill Hamas, to defeat Hamas, than going into Rafah. I would love to hear what that plan is from the administration. That probably represents some sort of new era of urban warfare and counterinsurgency that we haven't seen for the last 20 years. I think probably more likely that there aren't these solutions, actually, that the Biden team is referring to, because we know Israel is going above and beyond in this combat situation where Hamas does not wear uniforms. They hide behind their own women and children, and they hide behind hostages. So they need to do what I called on them to do about a month ago, which is to ignore President Biden and finish the job. And you know what? They're not going to be doing it alone, because there's going to be plenty of us here at home that will support them no matter what.
Brooke, to that point, how does Israel play this out? I mean, that country needs to do what it has to do for security purposes. I mean, they're surrounded by either neighbors who desire their non-existence or neighbors who are agnostic, but they don't want too much daylight between that nation and the United States. So how do they play this out?
Well, you know, I want to say to the prior point, there really is a very easy solution to this, and the United States has blocked it at every step. It's the humanitarian relocation of the citizens, the Gazan citizens that are in Rafah. I know that Israel has asked for them to be relocated, and America has refused. Does the Biden administration want to see these Gazans being used as human shields by Hamas? Does the Biden administration even want Israel to win? And what is the Biden administration doing with someone like Mahar Bitar as a national security advisor? This is a gentleman who worked for the criminal organization UNRWA, the United Nations Relief Works Agency that we know is currently embedded with Hamas, using Palestinians as human shields. Mahar Bitar also worked on the, I believe there was the executive board of the so-called Students for Justice in Palestine, which is now one of the organizers of the unlawful pro-terror encampments and protests that are happening throughout the country. So really, who is it that is dictating our foreign policy? And is it being done in the interests of American national security or not?
Morgan, before I let you go, the squad never met a crime they couldn't excuse, except maybe possibly mislabeling business expenses. That's apparently where they draw the line. I think the more American people watch people like Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib, the more they're not going to vote for that party come November. I'll give you the last word.
I mean, I hope that's true, because if they do vote for that in November, then they're normalizing Jewish students in America being unable to walk, you know, from the cafeteria to their next class. You know, we should never have in this country where a religious or an ethnic minority is unable to freely go about their business on a college campus for fear of getting injured, for fear of what will happen to them from the mobs. Certainly these college administrators need to do more. But you know what? So does this administration. You can't tell me that if this happened to anybody else, that the Biden administration would take 10 days to issue a statement or to say something publicly condemning them, which is what the president did. We should and expect more from our leaders.
Well, when Biden comes up with a nice form of warfare, I will have you back on so he can tell us how to engage in war with a terrorist group, but do so in a really nice way. Thank you both for joining us on a Sunday night.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.